Hi everybody, this is Carissa and welcome back to my YouTube channel, Inky Fairy Designs. Today I have a fun video for you as part of the Wow and Whimsy Stamps collaboration blog hop. I'm going to be creating these two cards with you today using the same stamps. So two stamps, two different ways, and I'm going to show you how I created them today. So I'm going to start by pulling out the stained glass Tiffany window stamp from Whimsy Stamps. They were very generous in sending the design team some products to work with for the blog hop these 2 days. And I'm using my Wow embossing pad clear ultra slow drying ink pad to ink that up and stamp it onto my watercolor paper. I am using 140-pound cold press watercolor paper, so it is highly textured, and I end up stamping it 3 times just to make sure that I have enough of that ink on there to do my embossing that I want to do. And that's my squeaky chair. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'm going to emboss it with the Seth Apter Etched Platinum. It comes in one of the trios. I think it's the Metals trio, and it is a beautiful platinum color. It has a lot of texture in it. You'll see like black speckles in it, and then of course the platinum and the shine. And I chose this one because the stamp is representative of a stained glass window with the beautiful florals all around, and I just thought that it would make this really cool metallic look, and then I could go in and do the watercoloring to create the stained glass. So I'm going to start by heating up my watercolor paper and heating up the embossing powder from behind, getting that nice and warm, and then I'm going to bring my Wow embossing dual heat tool to the front and melt that powder, and you can see where it changes from a matte to a really pretty metallic platinum color. And once that is all heated, I'm going to go ahead and stamp it again. So I wanted the stamped image with the embossing to be very thick, and so to do that, to get that effect, I'm just going to place it back in my MISTI. That's why these are great little tools for stamping. I didn't remove my rubber stamp, so it's going to be in the exact same place as long as I make sure that the pattern lines up. You got to look at that, because with a big background stamp like this, you got to make sure that you have that pattern lined up so it's going to stamp right. I'm going to go ahead and stamp it a couple of times with that ultra slow drying embossing pad. Then I'm going to shake more powder over it and melt it again. So while I'm doing that, let me tell you a little bit about the blog hop. So it started yesterday, March 30th, and it's going 2 days. So we had a bunch of our design team and inspiration yesterday, and we're going to have a bunch more today for you. Just hop on through. I will have a list on my blog as well as here on YouTube in the description box. Check out everybody's project, leave comments, and you'll be entered to win some fun giveaways. So you'll find more details both on my blog and the description box below. Check it out, and I hope you really enjoy the inspiration that everybody's bringing you these 2 days. And I do want to mention also that Whimsy Stamps has a free digital stamp that you're going to want to check out. I will have it on my blog. It is super cute, and they released it specifically for you know, everything that is going on in the world right now, and it is a freebie for you just so that you can do some coloring and have some relaxing time however you're spending it right now. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start the watercoloring. Now this took me quite a while to watercolor because it is a large image, but it was very, very relaxing, and watercoloring is my happy place. So I really enjoyed doing this image. I didn't want you to sit through and watch me color every single part of this image or this background. So I'm going to color a few of the flowers, show you how I just dropped in some of this red color, and then I'm going to deepen that up by dropping in some of this purple color. So you can see how it just spreads because that paint is still wet. So the paint or the water is, or the paper is still wet. So the paint is just going to flow right into that area. And one of the fun things about watercoloring with embossed images is that you can color pieces right next to each other. So you don't have to jump around like I would normally do if I had stamped this without embossing. I would jump around a lot more so that I didn't get any bleeding or paint where I didn't want it. So with the embossing, it creates those little wells, and you can very quickly and easily color paint a background like this. So I've got all my first layer of color on my flowers. I went in with a green and a little bit of that blue to give my leaves and vines some dimension. And now that the flowers are dry, I'm going to come in with another layer of that red, and I'm just going to deepen it up. You can see how the watercolor really lightens once it dries. So if you want to intensify that, you just want to go over it with another layer, and it can be the same color that you used. It could be a different color if you want to have some different layers of light or dark. So it's really up to you. But you just want to wait for that portion to completely dry before you start going in, so you don't get any kind of weird drying that can happen if you go in with another layer and your paper is half wet, half dry. You can get some weird things going on. So if you want it nice and smooth, just go ahead and add that second layer over top, and I did that with all of the flowers. I didn't do a second layer with the leaves because they weren't a super large area. Now I'm coming in and filling in the rest of the stained glass area with just some blue, and I just going in each of those areas, and then I'm going to darken it up around the edges. You can see around the edges here I just drop in a little bit more intense color and let it blend out on its own. This creates a little bit of depth, kind of makes it look like maybe there's some light shining behind the glass, and I'm going to do it also around the little oval in the middle, and that will take care of most of the stained glass area besides the center, where I'm going to kind of alternate black and white just to give that a little bit of fun detail. So I'm using a smaller brush. I like to use round water brushes or watercolor brushes when I'm painting, and the size just depends on the size of the area of the stamp that I'm painting. So here I'm just alternating black and white, and I didn't even add any shading or anything to the lines that I kept white. Okay, so that's pretty much our first card is done. I'm going to add some sentiments in the end with another stamp set, but let's go ahead and get started on the second stamp background. Now this, I love rubber stamps, and this one kind of poofs up a little bit where that oval is, where there's no image to stamp. So I was trying to wipe that away from any of the ink so I didn't get that onto the black cardstock. So I'm actually using a dark gray cardstock, and I'm going to stamp this image again a couple of times just to get nice crisp lines for my embossing, and wiping away that little center area. You can kind of see how it poofs up a little bit, and so it does make contact with the stamp pad, and so I just try to wipe that away with my finger and with a little rag. So I'm going to stamp that again, and then I'm going to go in with the Capri embossing, which is inspired by Marian Emberson, and this is also from a trio, but I don't know which one, so I'll have that linked in the description below. You can check that out, but it has 3 beautiful colors that work well together. And this one is one of the glitters. So I'm shaking it up really nice to get all of the glitter and the embossing color to mix. So I have a nice mixture of both when I shake it all over my card panel. And I'm using just a piece of computer paper to catch that excess. And you can see how sparkly that is. I did have glitter all over for days after making this card, but it is so pretty and it was worth it in the end. So you can see that middle right there where I was talking about the stamp pad makes contact with the stamp. So I just took a dry paintbrush, knocked away that embossing where I didn't want it. Now I'm starting from the back of my card panel again. It's really important to heat up from the back of your card when you're using embossing powders, especially when they have glitter on them. You don't want that glitter flying all over the place. You want that to stay. You want that sparkle when you heat set it. And drying or starting from the back kind of gets that activated, gets that melted, and then you can bring it to the front and then melt it all the way, and you won't lose all of that glitter. So you can see how sparkly and shiny it is, and I really love it. Okay, so here I'm going to start building the sentiment, and I'm using the set You Are from Whimsy. It's a clear stamp, so they have rubber stamps and they have clear stamps. So something for everybody. And I'm going to, again, emboss with my clear ultra slow drying ink pad. And I wanted this to be nice and bright white. So I'm going to emboss it with the opaque bright white superfine embossing powder. And the superfine is important because when you're embossing sentiments and detailed images like this, you really want that superfine powder to get into all of those areas of the stamp. So again, you can see here, I did not use anything to prep my panel, which in hindsight I probably should have, because when I did the first stamping with the large background stamp, we had that center area that kept wanting to pick up that embossing ink. So it did pick up some of that stray white embossing powder when I poured it over. But I just, again, took a really fine detail paintbrush that's dry, knock that away, and then I can emboss it and it looks great. So that one's good for now. So for the other one, the watercolor background that I did, I just used the Versaclear ink in their black Nocturne, and I'm stamping it a couple of times, this You Are in that circle panel. And to emboss this one, I'm going to use the Clear Gloss Superfine. So I wanted the black to be embossed, but I didn't have a black embossing powder. So to do that, I just used a slow drying black ink pad and then put the clear embossing powder over top so it looks like it's embossed in black. I'm going to use that same Nocturne ink pad and stamp one of these smaller sentiments from that stamp set that says loved. So it says You Are Loved, and I'm not going to emboss the loved. I'm just going to leave that plain, I guess, plainly stamped. And I think I really like the mix of texture of having that embossed and plain stamped sentiment in the middle there. So to finish off the glittery background card, I'm just going to stamp Awesome on a piece of white cardstock, and again I'm going to put the clear embossing over top of that to emboss it, and then I'm going to create a banner out of that using my guillotine cutter and get it nice and close to the letters, and then I'll just take my scissors straight down the middle and create my little flag banner. Very simple. This is a great thing to do. I don't have any flag banner dies, so I can just do it this way, and it is quick and easy and does the job. So I wanted to cut down my background panels to fit my A2 size card bases. So to do that, I just lined up the edge of the plastic thing on the Tim Holtz trimmer, and then trimmed it, and it made the perfect border, and it didn't matter if I stamped it straight because I am using that stamp line as a guide with my little trimmer, and it creates the perfect border around that background. And that's it. I just adhered it to a side folding, I believe, card base with a little bit of foam tape. Put a little bit of that foam tape on the banner that I created, and those are my 2 cards. What do you guys think? I absolutely love both of them. I would have to say my favorite is the glitter embossed on that dark cardstock, but I'd love to know what your favorite is in the comments below. Do you like this watercolored stained glass look on the card, or do you like the more kind of clean and simple look of the glitter embossing on this dark cardstock? That's it for me today. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and think about subscribing to my channel if you want to see more videos like this one. If you create anything inspired by this project or any of the projects that you see on my YouTube channel, please feel free to tag me on Instagram. I'd love to see what you're creating so I can come by and say hi. You can just tag me at Inky Fairy Designs and I'll be able to see it. And don't forget, do check out all of the other designers in the blog hop and leave your comments for a chance to win. All right, thanks so much. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.